Okay, to finish up from that, we had all of our data points up at the top. We already worked through this, but I just want to fill them in here. So our minimum was 7. So let's go ahead and write 7 in there. Our maximum was 42. And I find that that's the first ones that I like to fill in for the 5-number summary, just because you can see them really clearly when your numbers are in order. Our median, or Q2, that we found was 20. And when we were seeing it there, and then we were looking at the Q1 was 10. That was the middle of the bottom half. And then the Q3 was the middle of the top half, and that was 30. And it says the median of this data is 20. This tells us that half of the people of the party were 20 years old or younger, so over on this side, and half were 20 or older, half on this side. What do each of these other values tell you about the ages of the people? Well, the third quartile here, that tells you that at 30, there was only a quarter of the people that were older than 30. That means that the rest of the people, 3/4 of the people, were less than 30 years old. The minimum was here. That means that was the youngest person at the party. And the maximum in this situation was 42. That was the oldest person in the party. So that's kind of how we want to see those scores and those values interpreted. So let's go on. It talks about the interquartile range here as well. I'm going to actually skip this one, and I want to go on to the summary just so you have lots of time to really think through this and practice it in the cool down. So it says earlier we learned that the mean is a measure of center and the MAD is a measure of variability. Okay. There's also a measure of spread that goes with the median, and it's called the interquartile range. And when we think about quarters, again, I'm going to make that box where we're looking through and seeing if this was all of our data. This is going to be the median. This is going to be the minimum. This is going to be the maximum. This is going to be in between the lower half, so that's going to be Q1. And here's going to be Q3. So when we think about the data, we're going to get ready to make a box plot in the next lesson. And I want you to see that 50%, all of the scores are going to fall within this range, really close to the median. And the minimum and the maximum are here. Okay, so when we look at the example, we have all these values. Here's our Q1, Q2, and Q3, and they talk about the median being 33. So in that situation, this would be the 33 right in the middle of the data. The first quartile is 20, so that would be here, 20. And then the third quartile is 40. Boom. And then it says the difference between the maximum and the minimum is the range. So we're saying that that maximum is over here, and that's 49. And our minimum is 12. So if we were to kind of put the numbers in a number line here, we could compare the 49 and find the difference between 49 minus 12. And that's going to tell us our range, and that's what they talk about here. They also talk about the interquartile range, so I'm going to color this a different color. That means that they're going to take the difference between this number and this number, so within this range right here. Okay, so they would take 40 minus 20 to get the interquartile range, and that's when we're looking at that part. Okay. The bigger the IQR, the more spread out the middle half of the data values are. So that makes sense. Like if this is within 20, you could have a range be a lot more, but with different data. Okay. There's all different parts to this, and I do recommend that you read through it, but I really think the main idea I want you to see is that we're basically taking all of this information and we're splitting it up into fourths, quartiles, okay? And that's really what the 5-number summary has to deal with. Next, you're going to go on to the cool down. So go ahead and do that and then come back and check your answers with me.